I'm going to turn this into this in 27 minutes or less. Will I finish in time? Or will I have to hit the turbo button? You can create along with me or just relax and watch. I'm Gina Murrow, the 27-minute artist. I shot a bear. Let me explain. I had a glorious day to myself at the Woodland Park Zoo in Seattle. I was shooting reference photos and I got this great shot of the bear walking towards me. As an Alaskan who regularly sees bears in the wild, I tensed up a bit. But fortunately, there was a very thick piece of plexiglass between me and gentle Ben. Today we're going to memorialize Ben with an art supply every mom has, kids' crayons. For our style today, we're going to use a very loose sketch made up of hundreds of straight lines and strokes, kind of like pieces of spaghetti. I use close to 1,000 strokes. If I make it in 27 minutes, that translates to about 1.6 strokes per second. Here's the supplies you need: 6 children's crayons and a piece of brown shipping paper. A grocery bag turned inside out will work just as well. Watch for a pebbly texture that emerges as I sketch, kind of like the skin on a football. I had put a piece of watercolor paper under the brown paper to cushion it. This created a texture to every crayon stroke. It also created a problem, which you'll notice as I work towards the edges. With about 7 minutes left, I will tell you about the time a bear visited our front porch in Alaska. And near the end of the video, you'll learn why I have identified as a bear since 1980. Now let's get down to the studio and have some fun. I dug into my favorite crayon box and pulled out a few crayons, as you can see here, starting with some darks, and the lightest light I'm going to use is a pale turquoise, kind of an aquamarine. I think it's called blue-green, which used to be my favorite color in kindergarten. So we're going to start with one of the softer browns. This one's just called brown. Nice and easy, just to kind of sketch out where we're going to put this bear on the paper. And I see a definite, his ears are important. So we're going to add that little heart shape at the top of his of his head. And get rough in where we want his ears. And I'm using loose, very loose little marks. I'm going to crop off the bottom of the picture. I'm focusing on his face here. And one of the secrets to this is to use just the shapes. I am drawing more shapes than I am a nose or an eye. And I'm trying to connect these dark shapes, or I will be. Okay, his mouth goes off to the side here. And he's got a little bit of a hanging down chin. So you don't have to worry about getting it exact at this point. You're getting close. And you're using loose, scribbly marks to try to get that shape in. We're going to mark off other light marks with the turquoise. And then we're going to get his leg in there. And don't worry if some of your marks are like a little off the mark, because we can fix that as we go along. Okay, that's roughly my bear shape. I'm going to switch to a darker brown. This is from the Crayola skin color section called Extra Deep Almond. Sorry, I broke my crayon last time I was working with it, so it's still workable. If you thought art supplies had to be expensive, I'm here to prove you wrong. I'm looking for those dark shapes. There's a bit of a triangle there in his ear and a little bit there. And now we're going to scribble in that shadow. And the general idea of his eyes are going to connect with that. And you'll see them begin to take shape. This is my next to my darkest dark. It's not the darkest dark I have, but it can help me get in his nose. And a little bit of his lower lip. And this saggy turkey neck he's got. Now the shape of that is more like that, so I need to edge that shape in. And let's get him a little bit darker down here for this leg. We'll come back and darken that for this lip. And darken this leg. Nice big strokes. Don't be afraid here, because you don't have to be exact at this point. Actually, never in this painting. And you can get it to come out by contrasting your values. Sorry. There we go. Okay, now let's go to the very dark, the black. This is just a black crayon. And we're going to get in some of those extra darks scribbles. Again, trying to connect our shapes, even if they're not exactly connected in our picture. And I'm going to do my Mr. Magoo, I can't see squint, so that the shapes become more lulled together, so I don't see the details. This will help me make it more appropriate. I'm not thinking, oh, I'm painting a nose. I'm thinking, oh, I've got to paint this flower pot shaped dark spot and get in that darker lip, going a little lighter for this part. And then make the shadow underneath carve out the shape of his jaw. So this is fun because you don't have to be overly careful. We're going to come back and darken that some more, but we'll get this for now. And you can see a little line there because I have some paper underneath this to make it smoother. Probably should have made that paper underneath match the size. If I was going to frame this at the end, I would want to trim off the part where that line is. This dark blue, this is just indigo is what it's called in the crayon box, is going to be kind of my color that marries the dark to the lighter colors. You can see dark blue in the reference picture, or it's a reflection of the sky on the fur of the bear. So I'm going to go lighter with this up here because I want to add some of the blue-green that I have. But for right now, we're going to use this indigo as our medium color. And I'm losing his ear just a bit here. So let's get this sunburst shape at the top of his head. I like it, okay. I make my marks go the length of, or the shape and direction of his fur, more or less. Not exactly, but it gives the feeling of fur. So when I'm out here on his body, they're bigger marks using more of my arm shape. Now you can't race crayon and you can't put light over dark very well. So any place I think I'm going to use my very lightest color, I try to kind of leave open because I won't be able to put the lighter color on top very successfully. Not on this paper. This is just brown craft paper. One of my favorite substrates. It's cheap easily available. You can take a brown grocery bag and open it up and you have it. And I really like the texture and the color that it gives, kind of a sepia tone. Now, right here on this part of the bear's face, there is a shape that's bigger up here, and I've got it right here in the paper color, but I want it more with this medium blue. So I'm going to draw this a little more carefully here, making the shape show you the rounding of his head. And it happens again up here. A little bit different shape. This side of his nose, the light's coming from his right, my left. So I'll use this indigo on this side of his nose, smoother there. See how the scribbles kind of shape his muzzle for you. Now you can layer crayons. Let's throw in a little bit of this green, blue, green. This is blue, green, not green, blue. And I think in crayon there's a difference. Do some scribbling where I want it lighter, but still reflecting the sky. And I can use the color of my paper as a color also, which I am definitely going to do. Notice I'm making, okay, like here I have kind of a fleur-de-lis shape to get the part of his forehead that is angled. Put my glasses back on so I can see better. Periodically, I take my glasses off and squint because I want the shapes to not be detailed. I want to use the values to help me make the contrast, which will make this bear come out. Now let's see. On the picture, on the reference, this is the reflection that I'm seeing. Now I made an executive decision to not go lighter than this. You could have added a really light blue or even a white. I'm just not doing it because this is the color and the shapes that I want. That's up to you. You can change the look of the painting, take it a little less sepia and make it a little more realistic if you want. Okay, now this part's getting a little lost. I'll show you how to fix that in here in just a second, but let me go ahead and add a little more of this light reflection from the sky. And then we're going to darken it up a little bit, which will make some of this stuff pop out. Don't want any of this down here. There's a little bit on the bottom part, maybe on the inside, but not much. Some on here. Hair shape. Okay, now we need to darken him up. But before we do, we're going to take this purple and just warm up some of these shadows. Again, this isn't the darkest dark. This is a medium to light dark, but still in the dark section. Just adds, it looks pink, and it just adds some life and energy to what's going on. But I'm keeping it more or less in the shadow area. We were laughing at how much I squint when I'm painting. It looks like I can't see, but I'm purposefully making it where I can't see. Okay, now this will become more vibrant if I start getting it dark. So I'm going to take black. Don't be afraid to peel off the paper of your crayon if you need a little more color space. Now we're going to darken these darks, but we're going to do it in big chunks. Connecting the darks together, even if they're not fully connected in the picture, in the reference shot because we are trying to show if you were across the room and you were looking at this painting from across the room and it was a dimly lit gallery, you would still be able to tell what it was. Keeping my lines loose. Painting shapes. Think shapes. Think shapes, shapes, shapes. Try not to think what part of the bear you're painting. Think about the shadow that you're seeing on there. This will help him look more bear-like too. Now I need to get this side of his face. That's not quite the shape I wanted. So we'll tone it down a bit. We can grab the dark brown and maybe fill in some of this a little bit instead of the black. Let's get this shape right here. This is on the light side, so I'm using the dark brown instead of the black to kind of bring out some of what I'm seeing. This will be most successful if you just get pretty rough with the crayons and not too detailed. This is a great exercise in loosening up your work so that you can see the shapes. Now his ear's gotten a little bit long there. I don't know, let's see if we can. I said you can't go over the top, but you can kind of tone it down a little bit. Yeah, that kind of shaped him out a little bit. And then I'll take my black and I'll shorten his ear. See how that works? And I need to make it just a shade wider. There we go. And then there's a bit of dark here. Kind of a sunburst shape at the top of his head that helps define the look. And then a shadow that goes around. And these shadows will help you define the bear's back. Again, we'll probably cut that part off to make it work. His eye is not dark enough. There we go. It's not an exact shape, you notice. Periodically, I have to kind of lean back. Bears' eyes are really close together. They're kin to pigs, and they have little piggy eyes. You can really see it in their eyes. And in their smell. I don't know if you've smelled a bear. I have in the wild and promptly went the other way. I was tromping through some woods with a group of 8 women and kind of half hoped I would see a bear. I was excited about the prospect. But then as it got closer, I thought, what am I thinking? And we did come to a route that had been dug through by a bear, and the smell was just beyond belief. And I realized that we had probably, because there were so many of us, scared him away just moments before, and he probably was not very far away. It was a defining moment in my career as a guide, which was short-lived. Don't follow Gina in the woods. See, by darkening these shapes, I can pull out the shape of the bear and he comes right out, right? Yep, I like it. He's coming. he's coming. Okay, we're going to go back to this dark brown, dark almond brown. I think is what it's called. So that we can add some definition to his face, but without getting too dark or too light. I think I'm going to add some more of the purple in, because the purple helps add some interest and some color without changing where I'm going with the shapes. Because this color, this little crescent of color across his muzzle comes down on this side quite a bit. Yeah, see how that pulls his face out some? Let's do some sky reflections here. Define his skull. One time my daughter we used to live in the woods, in a cabin in the woods, and Shay was about, I don't know, 10 or 11. And she went upstairs, and we had a nice big picture window by the front porch that looked into the kitchen dining room area, which was where you entered. And she came in there, and there was a young grizzly on the front porch, a cub, and the cub and she saw each other at about the same time. And she said it was like the cub went, ah! And Shay went, ah! And they both ran the other direction back to their mom. I came running, but by the time I got there, everything was quiet and the mother had taken them off. Let's use some dark indigo again to darken this part without it being black, because the sky is featuring in color up here. But I want to get some of this dark banding that indicates his rough his skin kind of piling on top of his head. Okay, so if I back up and take a look, this is still a little bit. And I think there can be a little bit more definition here. We're getting really close. Now at this point, I'm just adding some extra darks in with an indigo that help me define the bear's face a little bit more. I'm still not happy enough with that. Let's add some of this brown, because you can kind of see the brown of his fur a lot right through here. And I think throwing in some bands of brown will help this read bear. Sorry. Get a little energetic with my colors. Switch to the purple. Again, a medium dark. The purple ties it in together, adds some color without being too jarring. And I need this shape to be more like that. So if I take my light brown, kind of add that shape in, hard to see, but then we take the black, and sometimes you have to just darken the darks to make the lights come out. When your lights get too dark, add darker darks. Yeah, see, that's looking a lot better. And go back to the purple. I want that band without it being too noticeable. Now his nose, I feel like his nose needs a little of the blue sky through here and a touch right there, but then the rest of his nose probably needs the indigo, because we want this dark shape here, but we don't want it to really be black. I want it to stand out from the black down here. And then we take black and we give him some nostrils. Oops, his nose is a little crooked. There we go. And I've lost his bottom lip. Bear lips are kind of square at the bottom. I know, I have looked at them. Not too close though, but it's zoos and stuff. I have seen bears in the wild, but in the wild I have a tendency to look fast and move away. One of the advantages of living in Alaska is you get to see exciting things like bears, and then one of the disadvantages, you get to see exciting things like bears in your yard. Okay, this muscle, let's define that a little better. Yeah, not too much. And then right here, okay, this is a squinting mark because I want this long dark shape to kind of come together, but yet be separate enough to look like bands. There we go. Okay, he's looking pretty good. I think this is a little soft, so let's try the purple first. That helps, but now we'll go to the soft brown. I'm just experimenting. If you're not sure what color to use a little bit of something you think would be right. If it doesn't look right, stop. Use a different color. You have the freedom to experiment. I've lost this ear completely. So let's go back and get it. Starting with dark brown. And then to switch to black because the dark brown is not dark enough. I'm pushing really hard. Okay, ear returned. And this ear's too light. Scribble, scribble, scribble. That's one of the fun things about this exercise. It is hard to do it wrong and gives you lots of freedom just to draw quickly and make great shapes that end up looking like a bear. And as you come back out, you can touch up the parts that you want to see, make it more bear-like. And what that does is it just magically appears out of the paper. And if you get it wrong, like that really wasn't the right shape, just darken something around it, pull the eye away. Let's give him a little bit more of a definition on that nose, but with a lighter color. I'm loving this purple, so let's put a little more in because you can. Okay, we have 24 seconds to go. I present to you, what should we name him? I went to Baylor, and we are Baylor Bears, so we'll name him Judge Baylor. Would you like to see a preview of our next episode? Keep watching. It's coming in just 40 seconds. But first, here are a few things you can do to help me keep the videos coming. Hit the subscribe button below and leave a comment while you're there. Share this video on your social media or share it with a friend. You can go to my website where you'll find more painting tips, and you can buy the paintings I've created in these episodes. You can also see my fine art originals that took me way more than 27 minutes to create. Book me as a guest artist for your next gathering or convention. I do live painting demos and paint-alongs for groups of every size, either in person or via Zoom. Next time on 27-Minute Artist, I asked my Alaska friends for pictures of ravens, and I was flooded with great photos. So, which one will we create together? We'll find out in our next episode.